Well, let me go to we boy, because I'm going long. Only have a video day with Al-Rawi since he want to attack Kamla. So the new thing is, the new attack Kamla with Al-Rawi is, ask Kamla. Right? Look at it. Don't say I didn't say, no. Look, Newsday. Ask Kamla. Judy Raymond very excited to print Ask Kamla. When all over news they're saying that the fake oil man, he sued the government and he's set to get $1 billion in arbitration and all kind of thing. And when they ask FARIS Al-Rawi, he say, ask Kamla. Page 3, Newsday. Al-Rawi said in 2011 on a political platform, the opposition leader alleged a lease operator contacted Petrotrin. The company defended the matter both in the courts and they emerged victorious last week. Al-Rawi challenged Kamla to come forward and now provide a response to the arbiter's ruling, giving her initial remarks on the issue. He said Kamla Prasad Bisesa led the charge in this matter. It's a matter that springs from the mouth of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who led a charge against the company, and in fact against the Prime Minister, Keith Rowley. I would suggest to you, the media, that you call Kamla and you ask her for her views. Ask her of the prudence of the approach she recommended. That is, ask Kamla, because it is Kamla, and Kamla run the clip of this lying bastard, tight pants, disgusting, wicked, rental, all. Look, play the thing.
I want to remind the population, Petrotrin stands apart from the government. The board of Petrotrin commissioned an investigation into the AV oil matter. It wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that commissioned that investigation. It wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that produced a report, and it wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that was taking advice on the outcome of those positions. It was the board appointed by the present government that took that action. The board of Petrotrin, which is conducting this matter, it is that board which investigated this matter, and it is that board which will complete its investigation in this matter, and it is that board which will consider the advice of its attorneys at law and take action as is appropriate. The point to underscore here is that this government is prepared to investigate itself. And I'm not saying it, I'm demonstrating it by way of showing you the approach that was taken in the Petrotrin matter.
Well, that AG and that PNM PM and that Prime Minister friend and that PNM Petrotrin board and them PNM lawyers and that Attorney General who said it was him and said it was him, but let me ask that board and them PNM some questions, because it gets very interesting now. Because an arbitrator could only decide on evidence put before it. So if you have an audit done by the PNM which says John Brown, thing missing, we have to check. This thing here looking good. The PNM take a decision and bust the throat of the contract. And then the PNM is the friend of the PNM PM, and the PNM PM call the friend and put the PNM tight pants, tight shirt, lying fella there, right? To be in charge of the case against his PNM best friend. Well, then let me ask you some questions, PNM. Let's disclose all management records and recommendations. Read the fake oil company. Internal audits, please present the internal audits, the board papers, the minutes, the board decisions taken following those internal audits and actions taken therein. All internal and external legal advice on the fake oil matter must be presented to the population, to the media. Internal legal advice to the PNM Petrotrin board and external legal advice. All legal advice must be we must get information on whether the legal advice was forwarded and followed under the audit, following the audit. What steps were taken following this advice? Disclose who represented Petrotrin. You don't want to disclose how much money your wife get, how much brief the PNM gives she, right? But disclose who were the lawyers who represented Petrotrin. What evidence was submitted to the arbitration committee. And remember that the award of an arbitrator could only be determined by the evidence put forth. So over to you, Al-Rawi, because he said, and I'll line up that video again, because I'm certain that my people cannot believe. This is FARIS Al-Rawi, Johnny Sukaran, 120Y driving before he meet his wife. And now our building rent out all over the place. A la tight pants, a la bray like a donkey, a la dribbling man, yes. FARIS wear makeup in the Senate. Al-Rawi, listen to this clown. He come here in the Newsday on Monday, June 14, 2021, page 3, and he says, I challenge Kamla to come forward now and provide to the arbiters ruling, given her initial remarks on the issue. You will recall Kamla Prasad Bisesa led the charge in this matter. It's a matter that springs from the mouth of Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who led a charge against the company and, in fact, the Prime Minister. I would suggest to you, the media, to call Kamla and ask her for her views and ask her of the prudence of the approach she recommended. Let's listen. This is him yesterday. Let's listen to him. December 23rd, 2017. Come in, makeup man.
I want to remind the population, Petrotrin stands apart from the government. The board of Petrotrin commissioned an investigation into the AV oil matter. It wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that commissioned that investigation. It wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that produced a report, and it wasn't Mrs. Prasad Bisesa that was taking advice on the outcome of those positions. It was the board appointed by the present government that took that action. The board of Petrotrin, which is conducting this matter, it is that board which investigated this matter, and it is that board which will complete its investigation in this matter, and it is that board which will consider the advice of its attorneys at law and take action as is appropriate. The point to underscore here is that this government is prepared to investigate itself. And I'm not saying it, I'm demonstrating it by way of showing you the approach that was taken in the Petrotrin matter.
Faris Alwari now loses another case on behalf of the state, and what does he say? Ask Kamla. Can you imagine? He's a senior legal advisor, the legal advisor to the government, and he says when he loses this case, the fake oil case, he says ask Kamla. Well, I want to ask you these questions, Raul. Mr. Rowley and Mr. AG. Make it very clear that it is the government and the AG who has lost another case. Don't call my name in that at all. That case was between AV and Petrotrin. Petrotrin headed by PNM board appointees. Go ask Michael Kwamina. He's a personal lawyer for Keith Christopher Rowley. Mr. Rowley put his personal lawyer to shut down Petrotrin and send over 10,000 people lost their jobs. Was that a cover-up? I don't know. 100 million fake oil, and don't forget 100 million with the Montal issue. And he gave another personal friend of his, a lawyer again, a bunkering license. Another word from the fake validators. I would ask you, Faris, why don't you call your friend Espinay? Tell Mr. Rowley call his friend Espinay, who was the chairman of Petrotrin when the contract with AV was terminated. I want to ask you now, AG, did you do all in your power as head of the bar and as legal advisor to the government to ensure proper litigation? Did you ensure a proper case and that all evidence was supplied? Did you provide the independent audit by Kroll Consulting Canada and the Gaffney Klein report? People are asking if you threw the case away to give Keith Rowley's bestie some money in damages. Someone said it's $1 billion. It's not. So look forward to that. We keep tuned into this story. And I say, ask FARIS, not Kamla. Kamla had no part of this case.
So over to you, members of the media, Express, Guardian, Judy Raymond and the Newsday. Ask FARIS. Ask FARIS what happened to the case. Ask FARIS who were the attorneys appointed. Ask FARIS what evidence was presented to the arbitrator. Ask FARIS who did the audit. Ask FARIS where's Oliveri, the former minister. Ask FARIS why the previous PNM Petrotrin board was gone. Ask FARIS who said to shut down Petrotrin. Ask FARIS and tell him that Espinay went under oath and said, no, we never told the government to turn down, to close down Petrotrin. Ask FARIS what were the legal issues presented from internal lawyers to external lawyers. Ask FARIS if the criminal probe is still going on. Ask FARIS what was the decision done and what were the logbooks presented. Ask FARIS, was Deoki Singh brought back from where he is, the former candidate who went up for the PNM against Kamla Prasad Bisesa? Was he cross-examined? Did he put in a witness statement? Where is Deoki Singh? Deoki Singh, that PNM bastion of political ineptitude? Ask FARIS. And why they ask him FARIS? Ask FARIS how much foundation does he put on. Yes, FARIS. How much? Do you get a professional to do it? Or have you become so skilled at putting on your own makeup, FARIS? Oh?